What's going on, guys? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And let's get started. Let me go ahead and take a look at what we're doing here. So, Earthium first one. Congrats. When's moon, right? What's up, Drake? How are you guys doing? How was your extended break? Alright, let me go ahead and get everything up to speed here. Okay, so we're going to take this and this, and we're going to paste it to Twitter real quick just so we can... So, did everyone have a wonderful 4th of July weekend for all the Americans and anyone else? Yeah. What's up? What's up, Jerry, Drake, Earthium, Tom, Frodo, Becca? Hello. What's up, Drake? Let's see. Who else we got? Paxton. Let's go. Anon's here. Yeah, man. I'm back. I was gonna say I had a nice we were celebrating an anniversary. Our anniversary was a couple weeks back, but we didn't have time because we had a bunch of things going on. So we decided we were going to take this last weekend and spend 2 days away. We went whitewater rafting and whitewater tubing and doing some fun things, and I ruined my phone, so I've been a little bit out of commission as far as that goes. But what's up, Justin Vester, Spooner? Blew up my block. Oh, did you set off fireworks there, Tom? What's up, Goat? What's up, Fish? What's up, man? And I'm stuck in the washer. Yeah, I felt really stupid because I knew I had a crack in it, and I was like, we need to bring like Ziploc bags for these things, and I bought a dry bag. Oh, thank you very much, Becca. Appreciate the anniversary wish. We had a good time. It was unusual. Like, we've done like other like trips to other places, and but I figured maybe do something a little bit more adventurous and fun, and so we did some whitewater trails and hiking, and it was nice. They got pretty waterfalls where we were, and it was a nice little break. So let me go ahead and tweet that out, and then I think that's pretty much it, right? I think I just need to go here and we can get started. How's everybody's... Do you think of petroleum, Occidental Petroleum? What's the ticker for that? You can take a look at it. Obviously, a lot of people want to cover Aterian because they had like what was it, like a 16% day today. The SPY was having an interesting, fun. Oxy, okay. We'll take a look at that in a second. I just want to get YouTube Studio up real quick. All right. Hey, look at that. We are at 1990 now for followers. So if you are not subscribed, if you could subscribe, that'd be awesome. We like to come in here and talk about stocks. We usually have about like 50. All right, so let's just take a look for you real quick. Yeah. So I actually had a bunch of shares and also some calls on this. and I took it as a flyer. Fish and I were going through, and we found a couple of different like tickers that had weird things looking like it. And I don't know if this is the daily, but let's take a look at the daily real quick on it, just so you can. We'll do it over here. Just to show you this, because obviously this is unusual. Like, you don't usually have, something that looks. Let me just show you. Like, it had been basically a falling knife, and then all of a sudden you had this run. So let's do it like this. Like, that's pretty unusual. You were down here at like $2, and then jumped all the way past it. Like, it was like $6.40. So yeah. I was gonna say, past your screener, I actually picked up some calls on it, some like leaps. Like, I bought $1 calls for 2024 on them, and I loaded them at around like $5.50. So, but yeah, I did pretty well on that, and it did pass the screener, though, fish that you had built up on the Bloomberg. So yeah. It's one of those that I thought was interesting. Yeah, and I'm still holding Vroom, which we also found on the screener that we're like working on. I can tell you guys about that in a little bit, but yeah, Vroom basically also passed hit the screener that he built up, and then it looks like it's going to do something. There's a bunch of these things. Like, DTC is another one. Like, DTC's been a falling knife. They are looking like they're going to be probably taking a nice little run soon. So there's a bunch of these things. And Aterian, obviously, this thing just randomly spikes, and like when it does, it generates a ton of volume and a ton of pressure, and then like, they'll beat it down again, and then it just, this is what happens. Like, you'll have, like, it didn't even go into the oversold on the daily. It's already kind of moved heavily on the RSI for today. But this was one of those things that happened in a pattern. I was expecting it to, but could this have been the spring? You look at the Fibonacci retracements, it's got like a 210, and then, they beat it down because they need to have the thing basically below. I think it was on, what day was it, Friday? Yeah, I think Friday was this was the last day of the quarter, right? So this day was for the last day of the quarter. So they had to have it down here, and they had to have it close below a certain level. Once it did that, then it was going to go ahead and go up and start the new algo. You know what? We should have DZ on here again. I think that'd be a good idea. We should definitely do one of that. Are we live? I think we're live, right? We'll do it live. Let me catch back up. All right, so Tom went to a fireworks store that has been open for 10 years. That's the owner for the stuff that goes for the highest and makes the biggest explosions. Scared the crap out of the neighbors a few times. Yeah, because remember, DZ and I did a stream a while back before he went off to Texas, and so I think he's back now, and I think we'll be able to kind of catch up. I'm still busy on my projects, but I think we'll be able to get one of these nights where we're both kind of prepared, and we could actually do this again and start talking a little bit about what's going on with the algos that he saw. It's interesting because I think he's really, really strong with obviously options and also on the TA / like stats. And I think there's a bunch of us who are good at like the fundamentals and like understanding kind of like the big picture. And so combining the two styles actually provides probably the closest thing you have to a real actual like, okay, this is what's going on through like machines, and this is what's all going on big picture. So yeah, I'd like to get back with DZ and do that again. I have to hit him up. All right, so let's go ahead and see if there's anything else that we need to do. Oh, I need to go here. Let's turn on this real quick. And turn on this. Oh, did one of these not something posted as a real video, I guess. I didn't realize that. I'll That's weird. Normally they just come as live streams. All right, I'm so glad about more shares this morning before the little run. Still have an average of 374. Hopefully we keep moving upwards. Someone's got Spooner's got an average of 365. My other account's 566. Well, just don't combine them and you'll be fine there, Jeff. All right, so let's go back and help out. Who wanted to know about Occidental? All right. Yeah, you guys can all talk about your averages. Here you can say whatever you want as far as, like, just don't say anything like messed up or, you know, that would get you in trouble with YouTube. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't have any specific rules against, like, talking about your positions or shares. Like, you know, you can talk whatever you want. All right, so what are we doing here? We're pulling up Dilution Tracker. I'm sure they're large, so they probably won't have it, but always helps to get a snapshot real quick. So, and I think we established that I can bring this over, so let me do that. All right, so OXY, Occidental Petroleum. Yeah, I was going to say dilution's probably not a big deal to these guys. They're only 5% shorted. It's a $56 billion market cap. So they're a big company. Institutions own about 60% of them. Is there any news or anything that's going on? I mean, obviously with oil prices going the way they have, they've been doing well, but the question is, what's oil going to do? Because they're going to rise and fall with that, you know. But if oil keeps being expensive, then obviously these guys are going to be, you know, huge. So, all right. So, interesting. Berkshire Hathaway owns almost 15% of these guys. So they're the largest institution that owns them. Vanguard, Dodge & Cox, BlackRock, State Street, Geo Capital. These are all big names, especially at least the top, like 5. Geo Capital I've heard before, and GQG I have. All right, so did they have anything? All right, so yeah, Warren Buffett owns these guys, so I would say you're probably in good hands. The question is just, where do you think this actually is, you know, worth buying at, you know? All right, let me see if I can find something. There was a, I can't remember. I have it bookmarked at my work, but I don't know if I have it here. So there's a website that I go to sometimes for some fundamental analysis, and I would love to give you guys the name of it, but I don't remember it offhand. And me Googling, me guessing basically, stock analysis maybe. Man. For whatever reason, I'm not seeing. They're just not big enough to actually show up on here. All right, so let's see what they've got for some other sites. Let's see. You know what I have? Let me pull this over real quick. I believe I have. I just won't be able to show you guys this because I don't want to violate any, because I have a subscription with them. But I do have Morningstar on my personal account, and what I can do is I can probably screenshot a couple things. All right, so. All right, so let's see what Morningstar has to say about these guys. Occidental Petroleum. You still have remote access? Oh, good. We're looking at OXY and just taking a look at them real quick. Price versus fair value. All right, so they've got them right now. Fair value being 44. They closed at 60. So they're considered overvalued right now based off of at least Morningstar. Let me see if there's anything that's... Yeah, but it's all about what the market thinks it's worth. And so if the market thinks that there's going to be some more... Here, let me just do this real quick. All right, so here. So they've got them sitting there at... They closed at $60 today. They think fair value is 44. So for me, I mean, if you think that petroleum's going to go up more, and like it can, I mean, so it could get back up to, you know, what's crude at right now? But I was going to say, I mean, there's a possibility it runs higher, but at the same time, you know, they are right now considered overvalued based off their balance sheet. Let's take a look. You know, let's see. Oxy has a dominant position on the Permian Basin, which is the cheapest source of production in the U.S., is expected to grow into the become a big producer in the next couple of years. Our long-term projections on Occidental has the ability to deliver strong capital returns that many of its peers are already getting credit for, and the low-carbon ventures segment synergized with their chemical business gives them an advantage over carbon capture. Bears say that the Permian wells exhibit high potential, but they also decline very quickly. The EOR segment is a capital-intensive and high cost for production, and they think that while they're prioritizing their balance sheet, while peers are actually doing a generous return on capital initiative, the firm's still catching up. So, there you go. Kramer said to buy the dip on oil last month, so I think it's peaked. It's very possible. But I was gonna say, overall, it's a good company. Obviously, like, it's had a nice run here, right? So buying it down here is probably what happened with Berkshire, or sorry, yeah. When did they buy? When did Berkshire buy Oxy? Berkshire Hathaway by OXY. Because this is what these guys do. They basically... Let me read through real quick. They're basically saying that they own $10 billion worth of preferred shares, as well as $800 million in warrants. Wow. So they have a large, chunk in here. And they've probably been buying for a while then. But they probably bought the dip basically on energy. He bought more in June. So where's June? So he bought some back here. And now it's up here. It looks like he also bought back... Let's see make sure what the article is, what's the date on it, because sometimes they have older. Okay. Yeah, so he was buying shares back in this time right here. And so obviously he's a smart guy. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah, so SPY still has a lot of gaps, right? Let me do this. The ones I've been looking at, I think I was telling you guys, was this range right here. Like, I think it's going to get down into this range right here. Because there were gaps especially that were... Where is it? I think they were in the 340s. This one doesn't show it as good as... Or am I in the wrong spot? I might be in the wrong spot. 314. Let's try it on this. Hold on. Let's do Spy. If I zoom out. Yeah. So this is where I remember. Because I've told most of you guys have been listening for a while. There are gaps all down in this range. So this is where I expect some gaps to fill. So, while it's 380, it could run back up just to burn some more puts, because I think that's what they're doing. Is I think what's essentially happening is they're having a battle right now at 380. And the battle is basically, we already know this, and I'll show you guys this real quick. Let me pull up Fintel real quick, and I'll show you guys what I think is happening. And this is obviously just my opinion, but I think something interesting is happening on the SPY right now, and you can see. I'll show you. I don't know if anything's changed specifically, but yeah, that's fine. We'll do it there. Okay. So this is the people that are short, right? So look who's the biggest shorts right now. So if you look at how net short they are, Deer Park Road Corp is 21 billion. Is that billion short? I think. Citadel is like almost 20. Like CTC has maintained their position, and you're seeing a lot of these hedge funds, right? They're all shorting the market. So they have obviously they're gonna hedge themselves, but they're net short. They have a lot of money in puts right now pushing on there, right? So what's going to end up happening is somebody was buying a ton of 380 calls today. I don't know if you guys saw that, but on the volume, if you look at the volume on the SPY for the open interest for 380, it was extremely high. Let me do this. I'll pull up a SPY just so you guys can see the open interest real quick. All right, here we go, SPY. All right, so if we still show it, yep, it's still up. I'm bringing it over to you guys in a second. I'm just viewing all so you guys can see at least the majority of the chain. Basically, all the near the money stuff was pretty insane. Okay, here we go. All right. So look at 380. Now, granted, volume is both opening and closing. It's just tracking all the volume that's happening. But look at some of these numbers. So this is open interest. Sorry, this is open interest, and this is the daily volume. This stuff, it had 12K open interest, and it traded over 200,000. That's nuts. That's super nuts to me. And look how much volume's coming through on these things. There was a ton of money being thrown around today. So if you look at this was basically a battle for 380 for today. And it looks like the Bulls won the day. Because we finished 381, like wasn't that? Yeah, 381.96. So we almost finished 382, which would have put this much into probably, you know, they're burning puts right now. And so I don't know if it's a large institution or a couple who are basically battling the hedge funds who are short. This is just obviously an observation, but I showed you that people, hedge funds, most of these hedge funds are net short, right? So like, here, let's put it up, right? But look, here's 380. Look who's short, right? Deer Park, Citadel, CTC, Eclon, ICMC, right? IMC, right? Chicago, Parallax. These are all like hedge funds. So like it seems like hedge funds are the ones who are shorting the market, and somebody went long on them. And so I don't know if they're just trying to squeeze them, or if maybe they're just trying to rock some retail out, because we don't know when their puts are. They could be 6 months out. They could be way later. But we do know they're at this point right now. They are buying puts for the hedge funds, but somebody's putting pressure on them. So it's interesting. Like I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but obviously today there was more people that wanted the market to go up, and there was not as much. So is it a market maker just burning some weeklies on or dailies on the SPY? I don't know, because obviously today was an OPEX day. So when's the next one, right? So there was today, and that was an insane amount of volume. Then actually tomorrow is also an OPEX, and then because I guess they pushed back the one, and then I guess Friday is the 8th. So that's another OPEX there. And you can see like there's a ton of volume already starting to accumulate. So people are really playing the SPY, and but we know for a fact right now that there's a ton of people who have bought like October. If you look at like the VIX for like October, it's stacked. So somebody's betting hard on it going down, but it looks like somebody's also been like playing around and pushing this up at times. And I don't know if it's, haven't quite figured out if it's going to be, like, oh, well, we just want to squeeze out the shorts and the people who are, and just make even more money. Because if all those hedge funds lose control, then, oh my God, like, you would probably see a crash, would be my guess, because they would have to liquidate their net longs to cover some of the like stuff they're betting on. Now, in my opinion, I think the hedge funds actually have it right as far as like they know that the market is weak, and they know that inflation's high, and they've got all these things that are going against them. So like they've got everything going for them as far as being short. Like you already are in a downtrend. You're clearly in a downtrend. I mean, look at that. You're in a downtrend. You have not been able to break out of it. Inflation's running rampant across the world. People are going to start interest rate. The Fed's tightening. Like you have all these different obstacles right now. So the question is, is someone just messing around to like squeeze these guys a little bit? Maybe shake out some retail that are betting on the same side because they don't want their stuff to get too expensive. They'd rather, So it all depends on the time frame, though. Yeah, you're right. I'm just saying, like, I do think there's some sort of battle that's going on that most people are not looking at, which is I think there's some sort of this is obviously institutions versus institutions for who was pushing stuff up today versus who was pushing stuff back. So, because it looked like it wanted to go down today, and somebody just swooped up and grabbed a whole bunch of stuff. And whether it's short term or not, I think it's just in the long run we're going down. It's just a matter of when. Like it's never going to be a straight line down or a straight line up. you're always going to have these, head fakes and these things. Like, I mean, you rarely have, because this wasn't even a straight line down, even though it was a huge drop, right, for the COVID. You went from like 327 all the way down to 211, right? And it felt like it was just these massive rip down days. But then you had these dead cat bounce there, and then you ripped down more until they started actually, turning on the money printer, and then everything pumped. And people were still bearish in this first part. They thought this could be another dead cat bounce, and that might go down even further. But it ran all the way up, and then kept going and going and going, and like it went way further than I think most of us thought. So. Yeah. Like this would be my first target, would be in this range right here, where I would start considering, taking a look at what's going on. But all right. Let's see. Can you look at HOFV? I'm local to Canton, Ohio. It's a company that's building a resort around the Pro Hall of Fame. It's getting close to the finish, and I want to invest. Sure, let's take a look at it real quick. I'm fine. Are you new here, NFL fan? I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen you in here. It's always nice to have new people, though, so I can take a look real quick. HOFV, Hall of Fame Resort. So it's a penny stock, okay. Looks like a ton of inflow coming in today, but it has been kind of... All right, so it started out, was it a SPAC? No, how did it start? A SPAC maybe? It was like 10-ish. First day it IPO'd, ran around, and since then it's been kind of big. Okay, so this would be basically... Let's take a look at their actual stuff, because obviously they're not profitable yet, but they're small though. Let's see. This could be an interesting one. All right. Let's take a look together, everyone. Because this is, I figure if you guys sit around and watch, me do this long enough, like, hopefully you'll start picking up on things, and we can talk about, new tickers that you are interested in. All right, so let's go to Dilution Tracker first, because I always want to make sure when you're looking at a new stock, you want to make sure you understand basically the worst things that can happen. And some of the worst things off the bat when you're looking at a new stock without understanding the full picture is knowing if there's warrants, knowing if there's, things that can bite you later. So let's look. HOFV. Right? Okay. So we've got the Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company. So off the bat, and I'm going to show you Dilution Tracker because I think it's a great site, and I got the permission. And I'm supposed to I have to make sure he didn't write me back and give me a new code. But we do have a deal with them where we can give people discounts if they decide to sign up. But all right, here is Hall of Fame Resort. All right, so obviously you see a lot of red here, and that's like, not great, but let's figure it out. So, off the bat right here, okay, so you have a good amount of dilution on the table, right? So, you have current outstanding shares, 112 million, right? You have an ATM, which means an at-the-money offering for $55 million. You also have warrants for $54 million, and you have convertible notes for $23 million, as well as some sort of convertible. Is that preferred? And that's not that many shares. But so the company is cash flow positive, meaning that they're not in a desperate need to like burn cash and all that stuff. But they do have these priced offerings, right? Which means that they have an S1 offering, which is why the stock has been beat down so much. And they have an exercise price on this thing for $1.40. This one, it's not saying how much it is. You've got Spak Warrants, which are basically warrants. Think of them as long calls that have like an expiration date that's much longer than a normal call. And typically what they're doing is the money's going directly to the company, though, instead of to, like a market maker. So in this case, the company directly sells the shares, but they are dilutive in nature. They typically, though, have exercise prices where unless the stock is above this, it's not going to be able to be affected. So they've got 24 million shares at 11.50. So these are not dangerous to anybody right now. Okay, your pipe warrants right here, they're not registered, so we're okay there. But they're there, just so you know. So if they do get registered, then they need to be looked at because they're at this $1.40. Yeah. So, like, these ones are registered. So, off the bat, if you look at who owns these things, right, that's 10 million shares that could be diluted very quickly. So, you've also got these November warrants, $1.40, and you've got May warrants here for $6.90. Let's see, is there an underwriter? It doesn't say it there. So, and then you also have some Series E warrants exercisable after 1 year. So they're not registered yet, and they can't do them yet, as well as these are not registered either. You have a lot of dilution on the table. So here's going to be the deal. Until these guys go like public and then, start making some money, they're going to probably be very low because the amount of dilution that's on the table. That's why the stock price got all the way down to, 50 cents, right? And it's because they literally have millions of shares of dilution on the table. I mean, you're talking about something going from 112 million shares to probably close to 280 million. So you're going to like over double your float, and they already had a pretty high float off the bat. So, okay. So if you're looking at this like this, so you have to figure out how much money you'd have to make to basically go and, have that much dilution not affect you. So let me take a look at a couple different things. Wait, it's an NFT? No, that's not an NFT. That's a stock. Yeah, so yeah, it's a public stock, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's on that. Yeah, maybe I'm missing something. People kept saying it's an NFT. It's not, though, right? Like, this is a publicly traded, like, they're just based out of, they're a casino, like a hotel casino. Yeah, so, but you do have a ton of, they produce NFTs. Okay. Like, for the Hall of Fame, like, they tried to raise cash with NFTs with Hall of Fame players. Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm guessing that didn't probably go because that's why they had to issue out so many shares with warrants and other, like, it doesn't say they have any money problems from what I saw. I mean, we can pull up a balance sheet, but here. We'll just solve this right now. So let's take a look at their balance sheet real quick. So they're sitting there right now with about 1.9 million in cash. Oh wait, I'm on Occidental, aren't I? That's billion. So let me pull up the right one. Where is HO? FV. Okay. Okay. Now if we go to filings, when I look at these guys, it will hopefully not look like billions. Okay. So, cash right here about what is their property? Why is it it's a good amount of money for property. Do they own like a large place down in Yeah, but as you see right here, look at the stock equity right here. So like you're looking at possibly between 280 and 300 million shares authorized, or like that could dilute at some point. So you figure out. All right, so the revenue is mainly coming through sponsorships, event rents, and cost recoveries, hotel revenue. So they are making money on hotel, but they're spending way more on their operating expenses right now. So they're actually losing money, it looks like, on operating. Yeah, they took like almost a $10 million loss on operating. Yeah, I mean, they own all the land around the Pro Hall of Fame, building a resort and having the field they play the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure at some point, like once it's established, that's fine. But what I'm letting you know is this. So like, you have to understand the business part of this. And right now, they're spending a ton of money, and they're not bringing in a ton of money. So you have to kind of, just because something sounds like a great idea, until they prove on a balance sheet how much they're, because this is something that could easily like go belly up if they don't keep money coming in. So what I would say, with that much dilution on there, I would probably say that this would be a stock that's very, I wouldn't buy them right away. I would kind of wait till they kind of dilute more, and then at that point kind of see if they start producing monies. So, yeah. That's just my personal opinion. If someone's long on them, that's fine. You can have a conversation with me and we can disagree. But like at this point right now, I would wait on these guys, or I would look at purchasing their warrants, because basically what you can do is if their warrants are yeah. So check this out. So warrants give you basically the right to buy these things by a certain time, and typically they're cheaper than the regular shares. Now in this case, the shares are so cheap that it may not be. Let me just see what the warrants look like. But HOFVW. How much are the warrants going? Yeah. So this is what I would do if I were you. And this is not financial advice, but if this was me, if I was looking at this company, I would wait till there's a little bit more dilution, like being tracked, or I would wait till these things become basically like pennies, and then I would go ahead, personally for me, I would take a look at some of these bottoms, and then I would say I'm willing to buy maybe at like 10 cents a warrant. And the warrants look like, let's see what the expiration on is, but it's probably, my guess would be like 2026 or something like that. Here. Let me read the fine print on there. Yeah, so you have till, for most of these warrants, like 2025, where's the other ones? Because someone's going to want to push these up to at least $1.40. So this is what I would tell you. I would look at these things and I would say, yeah, you get 10,000 warrants for $1,000. And I would wait for a spike, because someone's going to want to push it up to probably $1.50 for like the stock. So if you were going to do this, someone's going to want to get their money out at some point. And so what you would probably see is you would have, oops, I put in the same one. I just went HOFV. Someone at some point is going to want their money out. So this stock might bounce around at like, this range right here. And then somebody might want to push it up to $1.50 to get some money out or to raise some capital through a warrant. So you need to be above the warrant price. So you could see a bounce to about 150, but then what would happen is essentially they would start dumping out the warrants, getting some cash out, and then you'll probably see the stock lower back down. But yeah, I mean, so it's all about perspective. Like if you're fine making $1, and if your dollar cost averaging starting like now, you're probably pretty safe to at some point get a drive up to about $1.50, because I think somebody will try to push the price up to that level. Yeah. But, I don't know how long that would take. It could happen tomorrow, but at the same time, this stock doesn't have much volume. Like if you look at like, what was the volume today? It was less than 400,000 shares traded. That's not a lot. That's probably just literally an algorithm just kicking a couple shares back and forth, back and forth. So what I would be looking at is if you did want to invest in them, you could always look at the warrants, which are the HOFVW, and those are much cheaper than these and that would give you a shot long term, at least for 4 or 5 years. Personally, that's what I would do if I was bullish on them. But, for me, I looked at that balance sheet and it didn't look great. So I would be patient on them personally. So, yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you, NFL fan. All right. So let's take a look. What did I miss? We need other people who wanted me to look at some other tickers. All right. Yeah, and we have a Discord if you want to come in. There's people much smarter than me in the Discord, too. So I was going to say, if you want, you could always join our Discord. Somebody can throw up a link if you want. If any of the mods are in here, they've got it. If not, then I'll figure out where I can... Where is Discord link? Hit the Discord. Oh, there it is. Okay. But yeah, we've got a bunch of really smart people in there, and the whole idea behind it is basically like it's a bunch of retail traders, and we all kind of like look at stocks together, and I come on here and I talk, but elbow cough. Yeah. Okay. Vroom. Let's go over Vroom. Okay, for fish. I know he's cutting the line, but this one passed the screener. So Fish and I have been looking at a screener that he's developed, and I'm kind of just giving input when I can, kind of looking at some the fundamental stuff, and he looks mainly at like the fundamentals and also the big picture Bloomberg like stuff, and he's using a bunch of different screens to basically find plays that might do this. So ticker mic. All right. Look at this ticker. It's love. Thanks, random. All right. So these guys hit this spring, I think, down here. And so you had this one down here, and it looked like it basically almost made a double bottom. It's kind of like Aterian. And then it moved and popped up, and it got shorted down heavily this day. And I'll have to look at what the SPY did on the 28th. But it had a really day where they pushed this down. And since then, it's been getting some actual positive pressure again. You can see the RSI is curling up. You can see the ADL is coming up. You can see the OBV. The stochastic just crossed over. So it was a heart. TikTok. Yeah. So I have a small position room. I do have some deep in the money 2024 calls on them for $1. So I think I have plenty of time for it to move. But it seemed like a lot of these small caps, if you look all right, Vroom, right? And I believe, Fish, is this the one where it had the messed up float Like it looked like institutions owned way more than the actual amount of shares that were outstanding. Is this one of those ones? I'll let him answer me. He's probably listening, so. He's typing it out. You want me to talk about Vroom, and now you're not talking. But I'm pretty sure this was the one. No, that was Vista. Okay. I know there's been a couple that like I found, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there's been a couple of them that I've been looking at. Yeah, Vroom is 98% locked up. DTC is another one that's really locked up. There's a couple of these ones that don't have a lot of wiggle room. So we can take a look. But I found one that I thought was pretty interesting because it's actually a really safe company. But I need to dive into this, but I didn't have time today because I'm finishing up the scanning project that I've been working on for the last, it feels like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. But man, oh man, like, whew, when I finish this, I've got so much stuff to catch up on because like I haven't been able to write anything on Reddit really. It's kind of just been me, hustling around and trying to get this work done. But yeah, they've got some liquidity issues. Okay, yeah, we can take a look at those. All right, we'll do a full in depth for Vroom. Okay, so you guys, where's it? Okay, so we'll go on Dilution Tracker. We'll take a look at Vroom, right? So not a ton of, they've got a convertible notes, and the convertible notes are at 56. It's much, much higher than their stock price. So if you look at this, they're actually okay on cash. They're burning cash, but at the same time, they've got a ton of cash. I mean, they've got so much cash. They did that, though, because they diluted the crap out of their shares. But it's been like that for a long time now. So, yeah. Oh, Nile. Oh, the Nile people. Yes, I remember them. Yeah, but I just want to show you this. So this is where they basically had to raise a ton of cash. They did that, and they diluted the crap out of their stock. But now they have a ton of cash, and they need to make something out of this, right? So most of the damage is already done. Like the price is already built in on the stock for the most part because it went from, let's take a look at the chart. Went from all the way up here, right, where you were in this like 70 range to you hit $1, right? So dilution is already out of the way for the most part. You might have a tiny bit more. So what we're looking at right here is they don't have a ton of dilution worries, right, at this point. Institutions still own, though, about 51% of it, and the short interest has gotten up to 30%, right? So that's interesting. So let's pull up Vortex real quick. Okay, so the Vortex tells us with vroom, right? Vroom. You were a fallen knife, and now you're down at these pitiful levels. You've had enough time to accumulate, right? So let's take a look at the short interest. I want to take a look at utilization, which has been locked since basically 100% since June 1st. And all right, so they think there's about 37.55 million shares right now, right, that are shorted, which is about 31% of their float. And this stock has been beat down for a long time, so is it time for a pop? Probably. Only problem is they don't have a ton right now of excuse me. Let me look at something real quick, and I'll screenshot this so you guys can see it. or we've established, right? Nobody cares apparently. None of my videos went around like down because I showed Vortex, right? Okay, so here's your utilization. Shares on loan, it's been going up. It came down a little bit, but now it's going back up again. Cost to borrow, though, skyrocketing, right? So that's a good thing. You want to see a cost to borrow get expensive because shorts don't want to short as much when the cost to borrow is really, really high. Now, the cost to borrow is still low, though, and that's the only thing that I'm not worried, but like the reason why it hasn't ran yet is because it's still pretty cheap for them to like short at these levels. When this starts going up to like 200%, then yeah, like you're gonna see a lot more pressure. But this needs to be, yeah, don't be greedy. You get what they get, so it's cheap. But yeah, it's so cheap compared to the price per book and price per share. So like this thing it's undervalued. No one cares about Vortex. They showed it. Okay, yeah. So like, but as a turnaround candidate, this thing has a chance to really, you can make some money on it. That'd be my opinion. Yeah, so there's a reason why I bought long leaps on them because, like, I mean, like, look at it. Like, this thing's been beat down. Like, look at the chart. It's been a falling knife, right? And you finally hit this low of like 103? So you almost broke it under $1, and then it's had this little rebound. So I would say once retail starts paying attention to this a little bit more, and actually some institutions start going, okay, it's pretty cheap, we could start buying here. What you might see is some institutions taking some flyers on a stock like this because it's undervalued. So right there's your price per book. Where's the other one? Price per share, 0.06. So, I mean, like, for what it is, yeah, it's just beat down. It's, but it will probably pop a little bit. And, somebody's going to recognize, be like, oh, this thing's undervalued. And institutions, if retail and institutions, leaps are super cheap right now. So that's what I did. I think this is going to have some legs and it will move. Yeah. Yeah, so there it is. Okay. Your screen is blurry on my YouTube. Oh, you have to go to your settings and make sure it's on the highest resolution. Hustle, if you're listening. Yeah, so there's vroom. All right. You want to look at now? I'll look at now. Problem with now was they were issuing out a ATM, right? So they had a nice day right there, and it's probably honest, but like this thing's down to like 34 cents. It hit a low of 22, right? This thing's just been basically dilution this entire time. Like they were selling into people trying to quote unquote squeeze it, and I told people about this, and this is when basically the war between the people that were pumping Nile and the people who were buying Aterian when it ran to 7 was everyone was like, oh, now. And I kept telling people, I'm like, listen, you guys have an active ATM. Like, you're literally being diluted against. And my guess is the people pumping Nile were probably people that actually were smart money because they needed to actually have people buy into their selling pressure. So, like, that's how it works. Like, someone came on and pumped Prague inside the short squeeze Discord when there were literally nobody telling. Like, I kept trying to explain. I didn't realize people didn't understand warrants, and that's why I started coming on YouTube and explaining all this stuff to you guys, because I feel like if you don't understand warrants and you're trying to quote unquote squeeze something and they have like an active dilution against you, you're never going to get anything because obviously, Yeah. So anyway, heard rumors CarMax was going to buy them, but that's speculation. Yeah. So but yeah, room to finish it up if you want. We'll pull up a chart for their options because I'm guessing the options chain stacked because it's cheap, and so somebody smart money knows that you can make money on this thing, so they're gonna go, all right, we'll stack up some leaps and stuff, and we'll run it and make some money on it while the market's down because it's still cheap. I mean, like, all right. Let's take a look at all the options. Yeah, so there's like 57,000 open interest right now on $2 calls. You've got 53,000 open interest on 250 calls for August. October's not where most of that is, but you've got money all the way up to 85. Those people buying $85 calls are probably the ones that are just playing it for an Ivy spike. Just throwing it out there, but you got some open interest at 7. But if you look, there's a ton of people who have been buying up $1, and this is me too. $1 2024 January 19th 2024 $1 calls, and I've been getting them for under $1, and that open interest is already up to 9,000. So, but yeah, somebody's playing those like $4,500 $85 calls for an IV spike. That's my guess. But I mean, here, just take a look at the. All right, that's probably good enough. All right, here you go. So here is their OPEX in 10 days. So it's next. It's on the 15th. But, you know, there's some open interest down here, but I would be curious to see this. So obviously there's a good amount of open interest here, and there's also a good amount of open interest here. So they've got $2 calls, and they've got 250 calls, and then they also have the following month they have a large amount at, I think it's 3 or 350, and then they also have a ton of like open interest at 1. So this is something that people are going, you know. Can you please check the SPY short squeeze? You know, it's funny. Obviously that almost like can't happen unless like institutions are doing it to each other. But for fun, I will pull up that for you. Let's take a look. Ortex. Let's see SPY's short interest and their short squeeze score, because I've literally never done that, and maybe they don't even, it's, you know what, let's see, shorts here. Okay, here it is. So you have about 18 or 19% of the free float is shorted. So that's about 173 million shares that are shorted on the SPY. You know, obviously utilization is probably not that high. It's 60%, which is higher than I thought it'd be, but cost to borrow is pretty cheap. So, I mean, obviously this is not like a SPY squeeze would be legendary. Yeah. My guess would be it's more puts and stuff like that. They're just burning their opponents, basically. But, yeah. All right. I feel like I'm missing some of... Okay, let's... Let me go back and try to find. I know I missed a couple tickers that people were talking about. AMKR. That's these guys, right? Alright. So what's going on with these guys? So it's not a short squeeze, obviously. EKMR. Is this a biotech play? Is that what's going on? I see. Biosonics. Let's see. I mean, it's a small company. Rosa, what's going on with these guys? Why are you interested in them? Tell me what's going on. I mean, they look undervalued, but they spiked the other day. They had this one big spike, and then they kind of been. Is that what drew your attention? Was that it had a run and then it stopped? But I will. Hey, by the way, I will go take a look at Nile for you, Danny. Give me a second though with the RISAs. So, I mean, let me just check. All right, let's check Dilution Tracker. No, not now. What was it? EMKR. MCore. So they already been diluting, but they're not like super high. They still have only 37. They're cash flow positive. That's always good. They've already depleted this shelf. They have a new registered shelf of $150 million, but they haven't done anything yet. And they got something under an S3 underwritten at $5. Offering amount. Yeah, so it's the same people. Craig Hallam is the same people that Aterian use. That happened, it looks like, last year. So, I mean, they look okay. They are a provider of mixed signals, aerospace, defense. Institutions own 57% of them. It's low short interest. Tiny company, though. What's going on with these guys? This is my long run. Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. It looks like they don't need the money to dilute right now. They've already done some of it, but they have the ability to do it if they need to raise cash to, but my guess is with something like this, I mean, they're clearly doing something very like niche and very like, might actually have a moat around it, as we call it. It looks like they have a good amount of cash. So yeah, I mean, I don't see anything, no glaring holes on that. Obviously their stock has been kind of beat down, but, are they relatively new? 14. They've been around since 14. So what was this? I mean, like, they don't have a ton of short interest. So is it just people like, how much volume was that? Let me look at something, hon. All right, give me a second. Let me slow down the tickers. I can't keep up with that. Let me just see something though, because this is actually an interesting thing. It was. Is that right? Exo. Biosonic Holdings. So this random like 36 million, is that about right? So they just had a random spike here, right? Of like 30, almost 31 million out of nowhere. So what was the deal? Did they announce something that day? Because it looks like on a couple things they get these spikes and then they, you know, it's not even like, yeah, I mean, obviously their earnings per share, so they missed there. That's why they went down. But then they had a random spike here. So, like, was there news here? What's going on with it? I searched the wrong one. Okay. I'm on the wrong ticker. All right. What's the right ticker? Oh, it's EMKR. Sorry. But these guys actually look interesting. I'm going to hold on. I'm going to write these guys down. EMKR. I don't really know why these guys were so beat down. I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow and find out why. If anything, they're probably like a long play. But let's take a look. Or unless I got the wrong thing. Let me save these guys. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to take a look at those guys tomorrow. And I'm also going to take a look at EKSO. Is that who I looked up? Hold on, make sure. You guys know when I get tired, I start messing up. Yeah. So I just messed up the ticker when I was looking it up. So the one we want to look at is... I don't know what these guys do. Exo by Sonic Holdings. I'll look tomorrow, but the one I want is EMKR. MCore. Buy 3 shares. All right, sorry. I'm just putting in a reminder for myself to look at these guys. Okay. There. Proud to add money to my daughter's account. Okay, cool. So I'm going to look at those guys tomorrow, and we'll take a look. Because I always buy things from my daughter's account. And this looks interesting for long term, right? Because we're looking at these guys. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything weird on this thing. Like, what's retracted? Oh yeah. So I use my daughter's account for when I stream. She's right now about to be. We do a daddy-daughter picking thing. I gave her like $600 to basically play with, and she tells me what she wants to buy. So, but I have been having her add stocks that especially small caps. It's kind of fun, and then we also have like some ones that she likes. We bought Mattel and a couple other ones. But it looks like I need to fund her account because I don't think we have anything on here. Yeah, let's see. I can add some money into her account. But yeah, this one looks interesting. EKMR MCore. So let me do this. Yeah, because I like getting things for her that I think will be good in the future. But yeah, with these guys right here, I don't see any red flags. I mean, you still have a lot of like dilution to go before it really starts affecting you. They have plenty of cash. There's no like, I mean, they have a shelf to raise money, but if they're doing this kind of work, I would imagine that if they get like some sort of contract with the government or whatever, yeah, they seem to be doing just fine. And they're not diluting their shareholders. Like, they look pretty healthy, to be honest with you. So I think that's a good, that's pretty solid off the bat what I'm seeing. Let's see if we can pull up Morningstar real quick and see a price target. Morningstar. All right. So we'll pull up EMKR. Okay, here we go. All right, so they've got an $8 fair value on these guys. So that's their so aerospace and defense and broadband. Deals with chips as well. But yeah, I mean it's small, but it can grow. So I mean, if they have good leadership, I mean, obviously we'd have to see what that is, but overall, I mean, it looks like institutions like them also, right? Because you do have a decent amount of institutions holding, which is probably over 50%, is my guess. So, all right. Here we go. RMSL. RMSL is too small for Dilution Tracker at this point, but that's fine. Let's take a look at the chart. RMSL. REM Sleep Holdings. I mean, this is a penny stock. Like, literally penny. Like, isn't it worth like a penny? No, 2 pennies, sorry. Ugh. Yeah, I don't mess with these things. These are over the counter, like Ted Bear. I was going to say this is a stock that can easily go to zero because you're already at 2 pennies. Like, you might have these spikes to like 5 cents, and then like someone's just basically just playing around with this thing. I'm guessing they can probably move it because of that, but this is a dead company basically. That's just going off of some PR news. And, yeah, you can make money on that if it pumps, but, like, what are these guys doing? Like, let me see if I can find any information on these guys, because RSML. Yeah, they had one spike to 4 cents. But, yeah, like, I mean, they've got 1.5 billion shares outstanding. Yeah, I mean, like, for me, this is not something I would mess with. This is basically gambling because, like, how much short interest is on this company even? Like, let me see if I can even see it. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about you have 1.5 billion shares outstanding. Like, you're worth a penny. If not less. So that's a very, very high float and shares outstanding. Yeah, institutions own 0.04% of this company, which means that like somebody's dad's companies owns a tiny bit of it. It's an OTC pink slip. Like this is a stock that I normally wouldn't even touch. But if you want me to look, yeah, like this is one of those that like you can make and lose a ton of money on this type of thing. So, I mean, it's technically in an uptrend right now, but like that's a lot of dilution. So, yeah, I mean, when you have 1.5 billion shares trading 20 million, it's like, eh. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, technically you're in an uptrend. I mean, if somebody pumps it for you and you get like a penny out of each and you've got thousands and thousands of shares, you can make money on this. But like, that's how these ones work. Like, it's like shrimp and all these other ones. They try to pump them. So they get in really low, essentially. Like, they'll buy down here at like literally less than a penny. And then what they'll do is they'll pump it up to like 4 cents. They'll get like a bunch of retail to be like, no, this company's going to turn around. Like shrimp, they told people that this thing was going to get to like $1, and people bought down here at like 2 cents, and so they unloaded. This is when they're selling, so they, selling onto retail, FOMOing in at like 90 cents, and then it just tanks to like probably back down to these levels. So yeah, but there, I covered it. So what else do we need? Okay, Nile. I said I'd cover Nile. Let's cover Nile real quick. Oops. Nile. There we go. Bit Nile. Yeah, someone got shrimped. Yeah, dude, shrimp was a bad deal for a lot of retail. I tried talking some of my friends out of it, and they were like, "Nah, man, they're like farming shrimp in a warehouse in Indiana." I'm like, "Dude, you guys are gonna get burned so badly." Oh, you know what? I thought I'd bring this up. I didn't see this earlier, but going back to EMKR, right? That's my reminder to buy some tomorrow. But it looks like there was a pretty significant gap down. Is that the same? Why don't I see the gap down? Oh, because I'm on a weekly. That's why. Let me go to the daily. So the gap was where? Let's see. EKR stock. It was EMKR. I don't need a script. I just want to see the ticker. Chart. Give me the chart. Here. EKMR. Or EMKR, right? EMKR. MKR. Okay, MKR. So they dropped on our earnings, right? Yeah, I'm just well, yeah. Something's. I just want to show you guys that I noticed because this is something that I would be looking at a short-term play as far as what I'm seeing here because it makes sense if these guys are here. Let me see if I can do it this way. ENKR, but I'm just going to show you this, right? So here we go. If this is correct, I don't know if it is or not, but there was a large gap down on earnings back here, it looks like. And that leaves a huge gap to be filled at some point. And I don't know if maybe that's just is that a weird fluke because I don't see it on here. Here's the earnings, but I don't see the daily gap that I'm seeing on TradeView. Let me see if that lines up. Probably February 10th. Yeah, February 9th, February 10th. Oh, you know what? I'm using, I think, one of those, weird candles on here. Yeah, I've got to go through and change my settings. But, yeah, I think I'm not showing the gap there, but I think there's a gap. So, yeah, I would expect this gap to fill, and that's, in the 4 range, because that's a pocket of liquidity that they're not dealing with right now. So I would expect to see a run up at some point. You look like, we're still in the downtrend, so I expect it to maybe keep going that way. But I was going to say at some point they're going to get undervalued and they're going to push back up, and then you're going to see. This is probably them accumulating. It's smart money. So yeah. So I also have BBBY. I think Ryan Cohen's a smart guy, and I don't think he buys stuff without kind of researching and looking into it. I think he's got a lot of smart people that are around him because he made, obviously, Chewy successful. Then he had a lot of probably really smart people that he hired to run his hedge fund because he made a ton of money on that. So he's got a bunch of really, really smart people that are basically doing that, and he's got the cojones, as I will say, that he went into these big companies that things have been getting run into the ground for many, many years, and he basically was like, yeah, you guys aren't doing this right. And so if he's bought into BBBY and he bought into GME, the question is why did he do that? Because obviously he knows something that I think others might not. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it seems like this guy kind of plays things pretty close to the vest, but he's right about most of them. He's been silenced, and he's obviously the chairman of the board for GameStop, but he's also sitting on the board of BBBY now. So I think that they're going to turn around at some point. They missed on earnings, and it was a pretty bad miss, which is why things have continued down. But I think when they start getting some buying pressure put onto them at some point, they're going to do some good things. All right. Box D, just so I can throw it out there. Box D, because I'm going to be getting off here in a second. There's the falling knife. They finally hit some, positive ground here. They're going to get pushed down again, probably by the shorts. Let me check what their short interest and everything is. Box D. Obviously their cost to borrow is high, so that's good. They have max utilization. It's been like that for quite some time. These guys have been beat down also for a good amount of time. They don't have a ton of float, if I remember correctly, right? They have a pretty small float. It's about 40. What was it? Shares outstanding. It's not the same company I was thinking of, but 68. Let's just call it 69 million shares outstanding. About 45 million of. So wouldn't be my optimal like. This is good. This is going to help. So as these remain high, that's always a good thing. Not a ton though. It's only like 5% of the free float is shorted, so I don't think it's so much a squeeze play as it is possibly a reversal. But like you're getting a lot of volume and a lot of unexpected stuff out of something that's not supposed to be. So you could see a violent rip up, I would say. I think it's got potential, but it's also not got a ton of like. If this was like 30%, I'd be like all about this. But it's still not a ton of shares shorted right now on this stock. But it's still obviously because of this high cost to borrow, it's putting pressure on the few that are actually shorting it. So acquisition of L3 Aerospace and okay, yeah. I think there could be a potential SPY run up. The plans of being put to expire a month. Take their profits. Hippie leaps. Yeah, I'm still bearish on SPY, but I mean, I understand why people are bullish. I mean, it makes sense that it could be, rip. I think the end direction, there's too much like headwinds in my opinion, but that's obviously my opinion. You guys do whatever you want with your money. None of this is financial advice anyway. And then there was one other one. What was it? TMC. The metal company. Okay, maybe it's a long term. All right. All right. Let's just go over Aterian. Last thing. All right. You guys, most of you have hung in this long, so I want to do them and DTC. DTC is going to also move at some point. And I'll get in. I'll do this. I'll just cover this one, and we'll cover DTC tomorrow when we first start out. I'll put it on my list of things to do, and we'll dive into. Street sentiment is negative. Yeah, I mean it doesn't matter. They've got money. Like if you look just at price, yeah, obviously it's great, but it's one of those like I think personally EMKR I would acquire at this level. I think they're pretty beat down for what they are. So I would go long on them and just every once in a while add some more. If the stock price keeps going down, I'll add more. If it goes up significantly, I'd have to reassess and look and just see what the value is and if I think it's going to come back down. But, I don't mind. All right, so... Yeah, I mean, I showed you guys. I think somebody's net short, and I think somebody's pushing them just to make retail maybe, but possibly that maybe the longs they're fine with it going up and down, but going up and down. But all right, so what do we see here? All right, so short interest increased slightly. They're back to about 25% of the float, or about 8 million shares roughly shorted. Utilization's at 98%, right? It had been there pinned for a long time, but I was going to say here's the deal. This entire time it was pinned here at 100%. It was never actually 100%. And Fish actually verified that for us on Bloomberg. It was always like 97.9. It was 98. It was 99. It was 96, something like that. It finally broke here where they got maybe a better way of reporting, and now it's not going to be just these things pinned at 100, because my guess is because of GME. Right, so GME, if you look at their chart, right, where it's been pinned at 100, right, this is their 100. It's been here since February 8th, right? And I think they're going, okay, well, everyone thinks that there's no shares. Maybe the way we're reporting this is not going to be the best thing. So at some point I expect them to see that change. And I think it's the same thing with AMC. AMC, I believe, also is showing... Let's see. Yeah, AMC is also showing 100% utilization over the last months. So I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from using the 100% because it looks pretty bad when you're in a shorted stock and it just remains 100% for months and months and months at a time. So Aterian obviously has a smaller, footprint and smaller following, but like I think that what's interesting is this, like, you're going to see these slight dips here, but then once there's volume again, it's going to go back up to 100. So, but cost to borrow actually still is pretty expensive on this stock. Like it's still like it's sustained, been pretty high, 71, 66, but it's still like maintaining a pretty high amount, right? And I think if the stock starts pushing up in price, you're going to see shorting again. So. But average cost to borrow right now, it looks like, is like between 60 and 70. And that's where it's been for a long time. So, yeah, ETF shorting. Yep. Oh, the loopholes they can do. Oh, by the way, whoever's left here, do you guys want to talk to Smart Money tomorrow again with Alec from that used to work at Susquehanna a long time ago? They said they would be down for coming back on if you guys are cool with that. You want to do that? If so, I'll go ahead and see if I can tell them, yes, we'll do it. Did you guys find it interesting or not? I mean, because there was stuff I learned. So, yeah, everyone's cool with that. All right, yeah. So we'll get some former Smart Money on here tomorrow, maybe. I think they'd like to do it early, which means that I have to get my stuff done early. But did you say we're talking to Smart Alec? Yeah, Smart Money Alec. So, Smart Alec. Yeah, I get it. I see what you did there, John. All right. Yeah, so we'll cover DTC tomorrow, but I just wanted to show you guys what's kind of going on. And, here's another. Let's just pull it up. These guys, same thing. Cost to borrow still low. Not expecting a squeeze out of these guys. They're only less than 20% shorted. But I do think something's going to go on with these guys. There are a lot of institutions holding this company. And I think you'll see them start wanting this thing to move up. So you'll see, and I think the numbers are not quite as good as they really are, because I think we're not seeing a ton of shares being reported on this stock. So, yeah, we're going to try to figure out... Yeah, it would probably be around 8:30 or 9 is my guess tomorrow, and then I will actually work on trying to make sure that I have worked on getting on the call with them and we can screen share and do all that stuff. So we'll do. All right, you want a little apron? We'll do a little apron before we leave, right? Wait, I'm just curious. What was that? Do they have warrants on them? No, that's just another. That's a German ticker. Okay. So they're covering some overseas stuff too on Ortex now. All right, so 30% of the short, the free float is shorted. About 5 million shares roughly. Cost of borrow is high. Averages. So this is like the same as Aterian right now, right? But it looks like the cost of borrow, let's see. It's been on a downtrend, but the stock's been going up. Borrowed shares about even. Let's see. Come on. Where is... Okay. And is this the one? I think they're dilution, but it's up at 11. Yeah. 15, 18, and 20 for their dilution. So they do need cash, though. So they need to figure out a way of raising money. So private placement was already done back in, looks like May. And they already need money again. So okay. Well, you still have another basically like 11 million warrants, but they're at a much higher level. So we gotta. I mean, it can go up. It really just depends. If retail's willing to kind of hold on to it and be long on it, you could see a nice spike like this, But you gotta have the cost of borrow get a little more expensive, a little more uncomfortable for them. So, but yeah, that looks like it's gaining some speed and momentum, and look out for green-eyed bots. Because it's been having a nice little run, but you're starting to get up and oversold, and not to worry you, but I'm just throwing this out to point this out. So if I drew a line here, all right, let's just say I draw a price level at here. Roughly around here. Could you double top? That's the only concern. Because you're overbought. You weren't overbought here. You got beat down. Now, do they push it down from here? Because you're already hot on the RSI on the daily. So, do they cool it down here and then push down? See how many people they can shake out. So, just be aware of that. Just throwing it out there. Okay. You guys are awesome. Have a great evening. If you want to join us on the thing, just go ahead and... What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, so like I'm not in on APRN. I'm gonna watch see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I'm not going aggressive on them. I know other people feel like that, but that's just personally I'm waiting on it to see what happens. Like if I caught it down here, I would have been fine with it. I didn't catch it down here. I saw it, and I just I've been focusing on so many other things over the last couple of days that this was not a huge one on my radar. I was looking at some ones that were a little bit less public, because it seems like whenever retail gets all united together about something, that's when they get beat down. So I've been looking at some like smaller tickers also, and ones that have better fundamentals. So, All right, you guys have a wonderful evening. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. All right, have a good night. Oh, and if you haven't joined our Discord, we have a free Discord, and you can come join us. Here, I'm gonna post the link now. There. Have a good one, guys. Have a good night.